Because next we're going to have our wholesale panel, voice or data. We're going to have a host of several different folks from different carriers from around the world to give us a good overview of what's happening in the wholesale business. I'm going to moderate it. My name is Jeff Seal, and I'm with Telecom Review. And I want to invite all our panelists to come up here. Our first panelist is Mr. Ali Amiri, who's Executive Vice President at Etisalat. Khalid Tavara, who was his SVP at Wholesale Division of DU. Karim El-Kazin from Deutsche Telekom, Vice President of Business Development. Imran Hussain, Regional Director of British Telecom. And Tony Kelly, Group Sales Director for Verizon Global Wholesale. Welcome, panelists. Thank you for being here today. The idea behind having this panel was to give all of our audience a good overview of what's happening in the wholesale industry, give some ideas of what your individual companies are doing in the wholesale business, and maybe tell us what's going to be new and exciting in 2014. And this is going to be more of a free-form type discussion. I want to start out and really just go from one end to the other and give us your views on what's happening. And I guess my first question is, could you tell us what new opportunities you're seeing in the wholesale market for 2014? Ali, can we start with you?
Thank you, Jeff. First of all, I'm glad that at this time of evening we have still good audience. I mean, I never expected
we do
to have this number. So this makes a difference that at least we can talk. It's like players when they play, you know?
Exactly.
Diplomatic answer or open answer?
Open answer. Or political, your choice.
Well, I tell you what. First of all, wholesale business is very much dependent on retail business.
Right.
There's no wholesale if there is no retail business. So from what we can see that, and you will all see that, we are having a lot of opportunities in retail. And luckily, we are seeing that quite good growth.
Good.
We have had so far a good year. That makes our life a bit more this for next year. But strictly speaking, that gives us sort of to be a little more, be more enthusiastic that there was always room to do better. I think we are fully equipped as Etisalat, and strictly speaking, that in terms of portfolio of services, perhaps all what you need is to be equipped well. We count on our people, and if we do well, if we have got good players, Barcelona players, I think the opportunities are quite a lot.
Good.
We have the right engine. We have the right portfolio of services, whether it is on the pure wholesale side or aggregating non-wholesale based on the retail. I think there is good opportunity to do something.
Good.
Normally in wholesale, you will not be talking about percentage, very high percentage, but at least to do few percentages better, I think that's going to be an achievement.
Good, good. Khaled, can you tell us what's happening over at DU?
Sure, yes. At DU in the wholesale division or international carrier division, we have two broad categories of services, voice services and data services. Voice services have been under pressure for the last few years, have been declining because the overall market for termination into UAE has been declining. So our strategy has been to develop and launch new voice services and also to invest more in the growth of data. So we have a kind of a twofold strategy, defending the existing high margin revenue streams, which we need to do, which has a big payback if we defend it correctly from an account management point of view, from the systems point of view, and meeting their requirements. Of course, being price competitive at the same time, but also being very efficient in how we accept orders, how we provide them with information about the progress of the orders. So quite a bit of nuts and bolts, simple stuff, but difficult to do because it requires a lot of internal alignment with other divisions or other departments in DU to get it right. So basically, in a nutshell, it's basically defending existing revenue streams, developing some new products and services, and being operationally quite efficient internally and with our customers. So that's
good. Karim, what's happened at Deutsche Telekom?
Yeah, on our international wholesale side, we are consolidating all the roaming business, the international classical voice business, the traditional business, as well as some business development and innovation. And we see, I mean, like mentioned, it's all about enhancing our existing services on the wholesale side, so serving better the needs of our subsidiaries, but also serving the needs of our external wholesale customers. And we see a lot of potential for next year also on the business development and innovation side, so about coming up with new innovative services on the wholesale side, leveraging also on cooperation with OTT players. So really bringing more innovation by partnering on the wholesale side and not only like we do it so far on the consumer and B2B side. So bringing more and more innovation by finding the right business model, coming up more with smart wholesale approaches, so not leveraging only on our own infrastructure, but coming up with also cloud-based solution, OTT services on the wholesale side.
Good, good. What's happening over at British Telecom these days? I read a lot recently about what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I think there's two key words that really come through. It's innovation and interoperability with the way the market is changing for us. I mean, there's a lot of talk about traditional voice coming down, and we've already had analysts' views that it's going to die about 5 years ago, but it's still there. And I think the voice is still actually growing, but not so much in the TDM side, which is what we're very familiar with. The medium is changing, and it's changing to voice over IP from what we can see. There is much more rapid growth in the last year, if you just throw some stats, like 35% growth compared to like single-digit growth of traditional voice. So that's showing the medium is changing, and then you've got other OTT players. There's still a need for voice out there, but the medium is changing. From BT's perspective, we are still serving that, the traditional routes, but one of the big investments that BT's made is our interoperable IP exchange platform. And that's where I see, on a global international scale, that's going to continue to grow for us. I think we're already doing just under 8 billion minutes on this already. So there's quite a lot of growth in there. And that's driving three key things. One is the simplicity factor. For operators, they want simple interconnections for voice and data, and for traditional versus the new services and products that are coming through. Second thing is cost. Make it easier and simpler for them, and give them a solution that's more flexible and that they can meet market needs as they grow. And third thing for us is actually the value-added services that you can add on top of this. So for next year, a couple of good examples is around the roaming. We're going to put our roaming services through this, 3G and 4G LTE through this IPX platform. And most recently, we just recently announced next year, we're moving towards Wi-Fi roaming over the IPX platform, which is a new concept. So this is showing the model of how you use your data, from changing from traditional services to actually new innovative ways of actually managing the data for the operators and also delivering ease and customer experience for the end user as well.
Good, good. Tony, what's happening at Verizon?
Well, at Verizon, again, just to echo what Imran was saying, again, we do see that the voice is still a very, very important part of our business in region. We do see that there is a shift towards VoIP, and as a sort of corporate policy, any new connections that we're putting in there is on VoIP. That said, the relationships that we do have, we're maximizing those to the best of our ability, understanding what sort of cost models our partners are working with, and how we can actually address those. And then on the, listening to what our customers are asking us for from, we've got the world-leading IP backbone. So how do we actually address that and how do we maximize the revenue from that asset? And certainly on the MPLS piece, we have developed and launched a private IP interconnect, which will allow our customers and their customers access the MPLS backbone. So certainly we're also seeing that on the whole cloud piece, and obviously with Verizon vCloud, which is in beta test at the moment, we're seeing quite a good opportunity to partner with bigger players in region to be able to deliver on what the potential is once we go to full launch with vCloud.
Good. So in 2014, you'll be expanding the cloud?
Yes.
Good. In 2014, we talked a little general about what you're doing, voice data, things like that. Do you, all of you, see a big increase in your data, wholesale data sales that you'll be seeing from potentially OTT players, whomever, coming through there?
Is it the wholesale data or the
Wholesale data.
general? Well, I tell you what, I mean, it's very clear that wholesale data and IP connectivity and all, we, of course, have, as Etisalat, quite, thanks to our organic growth.
Right.
We are showing almost an average of 70 to 80, and in cases 100% growth year on year in terms of our connectivity. So definitely that shows that whatever activities that we do in terms of proper connectivity and enhancing the quality and the usage of these, so that at least what we offer on the retail side is actually reflected on the wholesale side.
Right.
So the growth in our IP connectivity is a good reflection of what's happening on the ground.
Good.
Now, when we have, say, our growth in Yahlive, which is data to the homes, and when we think that in terms of connectivity, as today's speakers, also Khalifa were mentioning and all, at where we are in terms of fiber to the home connectivity and all, plus the latest test of, we are talking of 500 mega to the customers in terms of connectivity, 300 easily now, but this is something that is already been showed during GITEX, some of you have seen it. Mm-hmm. So I think this is all these activities. That means that from the organic part, we are showing good growth. Mm-hmm. Now, this is in terms of value, or volume when you call it. Right. But if you want to talk in terms of value, that's something different. And all of us know in this business what's happening to the volume against value. Right. So I think I'm not going to go through that, but that shows that you have to do much more if you're talking about in terms of monetizing well your capacities or your resources. Then I think it is a challenge which is faced by all the market. Right. But that does not mean that this is an economy of scale as well. You have to depend on more and more activities. And another thing is that you have to be also quite smart in terms of your pricing and how you make things attractive to the customer. So that it again becomes quite difficult retaining your existing customer. Sure. Because the value could go also further down if you are not smart enough in better pricing to the customer. Right. So this is, I think.
Good. Khaled?
For us, wholesale data, it consists of the data services that we sell to international carriers. Right. Overall data in the company, of course, is growing because of mobile, broadband growth and all of that. But I'll just focus on the wholesale data part. We sell data connectivity services primarily to the UAE and the surrounding region to international carriers. The pricing, to be honest, and everybody knows, is quite high. The price per megabit for MPLS, Ethernet, SDH is probably amongst the highest prices in the world. And there is significant pressure on us to make the pricing competitive, not only to win business from Etisalat. Actually, the pressure is more in terms of making the country more competitive as a business center. So many of the customers who are coming and locating in Dubai and Abu Dhabi are saying when they see the price per megabit for their basic data connectivity, they're quite shocked how much they have to pay for a 2 meg or a 10 meg. So the challenge for us is how to meet their needs while still showing revenue growth. We cannot just bring the prices down to the European level or the North American level. It does not work like this. Like Mr. Amiri was saying, the volume, if the volume increases, the revenue also has to increase. We cannot just bring prices down like that. So that's the challenge for us: how to reduce the prices in a responsible way to meet the needs of the customers and to show growth for our shareholders as well. Sure. But I think that the fact that the prices are still so high compared to other countries, for me, is a good thing. It shows that there is room for growth, and I believe the economy is doing well, and inshallah it will continue doing well in the future. So that means that there is good opportunities for us if we price it correctly.
Good, good. Kareem, what are you seeing in the region?
Yeah, on the wholesale data side, indeed volume are increasing dramatically, but on the revenues, it's really challenged, especially with the regulation across Europe. But we see some additional areas which could increase. One side is new revenue streams related to working with OTTs. There are ways of introducing OTT services on the wholesale side to enable our wholesale customers to enhance their services.
Right.
Related to content and media, which is what I'm working with. But there are also other areas, like in Romania, we just announced a few days ago that we're working with WhatsApp. So there's also ways, in fact, of cooperating with OTT players, increasing then the wholesale revenue.
Good, good. What are you seeing?
Yeah, sure. I think just to add on top of what's already been said here, there's obviously growth. We've discussing all day today about how data's, exponential growth, etc. I think what we're doing slightly different on top of what's been highlighted is the fact the model's slightly changing. Obviously, we see some growth in our core data products to managed data products, services. Right. And we're finding that that's becoming more and more increasing need in the region as well than your traditional services. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is in the region itself, yes, we are seeing some growth, and I think some more investments being made around some more POPs, MPLS POPs around the region as well, from there as well.
Good, good. Tony, how about at Verizon?
I think the challenge that we have is that we have quite a number of products that are of interest to carriers in the region here, and our challenge is how do we actually deliver? How do we actually get those products to customers? What Verizon do in region is BN. We support our BN US customers or European customers into region. So we don't physically have a team on the ground competing directly with the carriers locally. But we do have a vast suite of very rich products that we would like to get to market. We know that our customers would like to have access to those products as well. So how do we actually go about that? And talking about taking advantage of the acquisitions that we've made over the past number of years, having spent over $20-odd billion acquiring Cybertrust for the managed security, network security services that they offer, acquiring, having gone through the pain of building compute as a service and, going through the expense of that, and coming out the far side thinking, well, maybe we're better off if we acquire a company to actually deliver a cloud-leading platform, a market-leading cloud platform, which we did with Terramark. Right. And then followed on that with the acquisition of CloudSwitch to allow us, to enrich the actual the services that we can offer on cloud. And then followed up that, with the sort of machine-to-machine and the acquisition of Hughes Telematics. So, we've got all of this product available, and what we've been working on over the past number of months is, developing a cloud ecosystem, Verizon cloud ecosystem that we can take the Verizon cloud currently under beta test, work with a strategic partner or partners in region. Basically, we're looking to put that cloud platform into the region so that we'll have the same quality of service across the globe. What the quality the actual quality of service that a customer gets in the US will be the same as he's going to get in Dubai, will be the same as he's going to get in South Africa and APAC. And so looking to work with a strategic partnership in region that has the customer and network reach, and then allowing us, Verizon, to sell to or sell through that partnership to our customer base and provide the that whole product suite that is available through all of those various acquisitions over the years, provide that whole product suite to our partners' customers as well.
Good.
So there's good opportunity there.
Have you already identified partners in some of the countries in the area? Or?
We are, yeah. We've had initial discussions with a number of carriers. We've made progress with a couple, and again, the challenge has been, and it was, in reference to the discussion earlier regarding the CTOs, etc. The cloud, it's a business discussion rather than a technical discussion. So it's actually getting in at the right level to talk to the chief strategy officer, to talk to the CEO, talking with the actual various heads of the various business units that actually see the potential that exists. You know, thinking about the kind of investment that is needed to make a cloud successful, and we've had the discussions with a number of potential partners where they have spent several $1 million and it hasn't actually delivered what it is that they set out to do. If you can take what is proven to be and will be, and you know, the sort of industry analysts, independent analysts have said that what Verizon are doing in the cloud space is leading edge. It will push them ahead of the Amazon offering. It will be an enterprise level cloud offering at an Amazon price point.
Sure.
And so it'll allow our partners and their customers to, you know, address each of the various market segments: consumer, SME, enterprise.
Good.
So yeah, we are in sort of discussions with a number of partners, but it may very well happen that, you know, some of those partners might not see Verizon as being the partner for them, and vice versa. So there's a lengthy discussion still to be had.
I understand. We heard a lot of talk today about voice, wholesale voice. Some people are saying it's going down. Some people are saying it's going up. Some people are saying it's being allocated to other mediums. On a wholesale level, where do you see your voice business going? Ali?
I think voice business will never go down. In a way, it doesn't. We have been hearing that voice is dying for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
But still, we see there is some growth. So I think, again, it's now a stage where we have to differentiate voice and what generates voice. I think high quality is the name of the game. Together with whatever, again, back to the pricing, that today the challenges we have, whether it is gray market or whether it is OTT, I mean, it's a natural thing that even during the earlier times where we had fixed and mobile, but there was no texting, then with the texting came messages and all, took good part. I mean, a lot of people did much of their business through texting.
Right.
But still, there was some degree of growth in voice. With OTT and other social services, definitely people, I mean, it's very natural that there are two people sitting next to each other and talk to each other on their this. So this is quite natural. But nevertheless, people are, in terms of mobility, it is natural that people also, there are thousands of cars, millions of cars on the roads. With all this mobility, transition from fixed to mobile number of customers is very common, that's going up, while those of fixed are down. So these are the sources of that voice. And now, how much of it, we in UAE, for example, we look at that in terms of wholesale, in terms of international connectivity, right?
Right.
So now that depends that how much of it we are getting that share of it, I and my competitor, or there is a very clever third competitor which is doing twice as much as what we both do. So now it's a matter of how best we can get back these shares. And that's a job that we are on. Thanks to whatever special offers that we make to the customers on gaining back those whom have been using other services. Again, convenience, because after all, every customer is attached to his mobile. So sometimes much easier to do through the normal thing. So the voice as a source, I think there are two areas. One is this customer attraction. Second, as I said, in terms of quality. So the better the quality, there is a very scientific reason to show that how it is. In fact, I was reading the other day a very clear thing in Brazil where there was a clear survey among people that how people were interested in having good quality of service, and that how that would have, that was of course for the local and coverage and all, But that how it was, they were talking in terms of billion excess and revenue if they have good quality of service and good coverage and all that. So that those ones also go into the international pipe, and that's business for us. Similarly, that's business for the inbound or outbound, whatever I mean. So I think we still have some room to play, and it's going to go on and not to die. In my opinion, there will be some growth.
I think I would agree with you. So do you feel that on a wholesale level that you're doing a lot of things, you said, making sure your quality is good and things like that. Is that bringing in a lot more wholesale business for you?
For sure. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, we have been, even in terms of our, we have quite a number of roaming, for example. We found that much of our roaming services are going through routes which are actually not the right routes, I mean. So that again, we had to rectify those and to increase the volume at least.
Right.
So HD, for example, nowadays, attention is more and more on high definition on HD voice. I think that gives a lot of room for this. In the past, maybe a lot of people were at least depending much more on least coast routing and all. But strictly speaking, in terms of volume, maybe sometimes we will be mistaken if we take it that that's all adds up to the revenue.
Sure. Khaled, how about it do?
Yeah, I mean, our story is not too different from Etisalat in terms of the trends. I think overall there is still growth in voice. The volumes are definitely growing, the wholesale volumes and the retail volumes. Retail volumes being the volumes that we originate ourselves in the UAE, and the wholesale volumes are the volumes that we get from other operators internationally, which we transit the UAE. So there is growth in there, but the average revenue per minute or the average margin per minute on those minutes is declining for sure. Right. Due to competition between the two operators in the UAE. There's heavy price competition this year, heavier than in past years. And also, as Mr. Amiri said, there is competition with the third operator, the invisible third operator, which is the gray or illegal operators who are offering VoIP dialing in the UAE. So that's a big challenge for us. But I think the other challenges we have is basically fraud, basically bypass, inbound bypass, which we are trying to tackle. There is issues or basically the different rates, interconnect rates, international termination rates, origination rates are quite different. That creates lots of bypass opportunities for different operators in the UAE. That's something which is difficult to manage, but we're trying to manage in a wise way. But I think there is still opportunities for growth there. So I'm not entirely, I wouldn't count voice out. It will remain an application on our network for many number of years. How much money we make from it, how we make the money from it will change over time, as it has already.
Right. Kareem, how about at Deutsche Telekom? How's your wholesale voice?
Yeah, I mean, maybe two additional aspects to what was mentioned. One is on the wholesale side. I mean, we see more and more wholesale revenues coming from our MVNO business. Because our footprint in Europe, I mean, we see more and more MVNO, which we're bringing on board. So using other brands within Europe, I mean, like MTV, launching them in some of our countries. So these are also an increase of wholesale revenues in our wholesale business. The second area, which is also increasing, I mean, being the third broker in terms of voice minutes worldwide, I mean, there's more and more voice outsourcing or insourcing to DT, and that's also an interest which is going very fast and where we would see also additional revenues coming on the wholesale side.
Good. Imran, how about at British Telecom on your wholesale voice?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I alluded to earlier on, just echoing what the panel's already discussed. The voice is growing. It's not going at the rate that it was 10 years ago it was going, but it's growing and it's stabilizing. Personal view is I don't think it'll ever go away. I think there'll be voice, just type of business and the people that we are. Medium is changing, which we've discussed. For us, voice, from our perspective, is moving dimensions, as in what we're focusing on from a wholesale carrier, so I can't comment on the retail side, from our international carrier services, the competition out there, the pricing strategy is changing the playground. for voice business, which is having a big impact. So it means for international carriers, wholesale carriers like ourselves, we have to be a lot more innovative. We have to be a lot more price sensitive to continually grow that voice business coming into ourselves, which is something that we're working on. And the other element is, what Al-Amir has already mentioned, is that it's different quality of service on the voice business. This is a new phenomenon that we've always had quality of services around voice. But now we've got things like HD voice that's coming into play. And I think with smart devices, smartphones, and the technology out there, this is something that's going to continue to grow. It's taken off, but it's probably got a lot more potential over the next few years to continually grow. And then moving away from your traditional voice, you've also got new services that are coming up as well. So as an example, conferencing capability over the international carrier services. That's a changing dynamic in this market now. It's been around a lot in the Western world where toll-free services and conferencing has been used. But the model is changing in this region as well. So and that requires better quality of voice. And the better the quality, the longer the duration of the calls. That's a proven fact. So as we develop technology, as we get better quality, the duration is going to get longer with volume as well.
So you see potentially the conferencing would stimulate more wholesale traffic? I
think so. I mean, obviously, it's all within portions, but I think in feature-rich applications like that over the platforms, actually it's going to make a big difference. That will change the play a little bit for us.
Good, good. Tony, how about at Verizon on the wholesale voice?
Yeah, it's the one that has sustained us this year. I mean, there has been talk every other year about voice is in decline, but it's been challenging. And again, we did make a decision maybe 2-3 years ago that we were at that point in time the biggest carrier of wholesale minutes on the globe. That is no longer the case because a decision was made that we were chasing a better margin rather than the high volume and low margin business. So that's been a challenge to try and sustain the business, but we've been successful with that. Obviously, with the economies in Europe over the past number of years, Europe has been challenging. We certainly see Asia Pac as holding steady or even slightly growing, but I mean the region that we see most growth in for Verizon in the wholesale voice business is Middle East and Africa. And how do we best address that? Again, I mentioned it earlier. It's understanding your partner and what model they're working on, what are their objectives for their voice business over 2014, and hopefully they understanding what it is that we're chasing. We won't be able to do everything with all carriers, but certainly if you find the right partnership there, I think there's a lot of opportunity for both partners to realize objectives and revenue for 2014.
Good, good. One more question, then we'll go to question and answer here, just real quick. You heard a lot of talk today about OTT players, things like that. Are you finding good ways to work with them on a wholesale level? Or profitable ways, better.
And then, strictly speaking, I mean, I personally view OTT as really something that gives you energy. I think we have to be really this of people who can, whether they use your network or someone else's infrastructure or whatever,
right.
But as long as people think of clever way of using others' facilities, I think it's really good to talk to them.
Yep.
And I think it's not only to talk to them, to be friends, to see, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So again, I link back to what was discussed and some of it what Mr. Uthman Sultan was saying as well. It is really it's fact that if we are slow, there is something wrong with us. So we have everything. We are fully equipped. We have the best network. We have the best international connectivity. We have fiber to every home, everywhere connected. We can, in other words, every single customer is connected to me, right, not to the OTT player. So now it's just a matter of me getting out of my bureaucracy and think clearly, cleverly, how best I can use them.
Right.
And I really embrace those clever guys to see how we can work together.
Good.
This is the way I look at it.
Good.
So without it, I mean, now if you look at it, the wholesale, whatever you do in that area, it could be the wholesaler. The problem is that when the wholesale, sometimes they do, it could be impacting the retail.
Right.
So you have to be careful. So if I am doing something along in the right business, official business, through my retail with the OTT players or whoever, that becomes even a good business for the wholesale.
Good. What about it do?
Yes, that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, the short answer is no. We've not found a win-win situation to work with OTTs. But I would really just, at every conference, everybody's asking the operators, are you working with OTTs? I would like to ask the OTTs, what do you want from operators? And how much are you willing to pay for it, right?
And that's a very good point.
We're not that greedy. I don't think we are as greedy as we used to be. We are reasonable business people. But in some areas, there are areas for working with OTTs, basically in terms of certain services. But in other areas, it's just a win-lose. So I would really, if there's any OTTs or representatives of OTTs in the audience, I would love to have a discussion with them to understand the models that they have adopted in other successful models, win-win models that they've adopted in other markets, and we're willing to have an open, honest discussion about working with them.
Good. Kareem?
So I will contrast with that, in fact. I mean, on the OTT side, we're working in many ways with them on the on the consumer side, starting with Spotify, Deezer, and all these guys. Across our footprint, we use them and we promote them as part of our packages. Now WhatsApp, what I just mentioned a couple of days ago in Romania. And also on the B2B side, we do the same, and we with Dropbox and Box.net. So we have several marketplaces across Europe where we really work with OTT players. And now what I do, in fact, is really basically the same innovation by partnering strategy which we have on DT level, just instantiating it on the wholesale side. So I found ways of working with several OTT players, related to live streaming, to VOD topics, to CDN topics, really bringing together these partners together, creating a one-stop shop related to content and media, and really making it a win-win for both OTT players, which are usually smaller players, and giving them access to the DT sales channels across the globe. So we found different ways of complementing the offering of OTT players with ours on the wholesale side, and that which makes it a win-win.
Good.
And it's related to different areas of cloud enabling, content monetization. So it's all about, hot topics which OTT players are good at, and this is where we're working together.
Imran, how about at BT?
Yeah, sure. It's a $1 million question, isn't it, with the OTT players? Well, I think the market's changing. I think we're all more readily accepting the fact OTTs here, they're going to stay, they're going to grow. We need to walk with them or run with them. So that's a big change, which is good. I don't think they're going to go away. And so within the region, from a wholesale play, probably not directly. But what we are doing is we are engaged with them in our wholesale business and other areas. Well, if you think about the IP platforms and what I was talking about earlier on, there's no reason why they can't jump on that as well. So ISPs, OTT players can also do that as well. But look, what's missing here is the quality of service. That's a value-added chain that we can jump on as from operators and wholesale providers. And that's a big change in focus, because what does the market want? They want better quality of service. They want much more. It's like everything else. It's smarter devices, more mobility, more quality of service. And I think that's an area where we can probably work more closely with OTTs and offer them that premium, that quality of service that people are willing to pay for, the OTT players are willing to pay for as well. So I think that's an area that's starting to explore. We're starting to engage with some OTT players in the market. But I think that's where it's changing, the direction, where you can probably work quite closely with them. And then lastly, I think the other thing is what we're doing in BT is to support more of the opcos about the data management. Because what it's doing is generating a lot of data. It's generating a lot of traffic and it's a lot of revenue that you're not probably seeing that's congesting your mobile network, which we talked about earlier on. But innovating new products like the Wi-Fi roaming, the Wi-Fi offloading, using the convergence between fixed and mobile. These are the kind of areas that we are actually playing a lot from our advisory side and enabling a lot of operators to how to better manage the data as an indirect way.
Good. Tony, how about at Verizon?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with all of what my fellow panelists have said. I mean, I would be very interested to know what the cost model is, you know, as Khaled has said. It's better to collaborate and cooperate than to be confrontational. That's not going to, you know, that's not going to get anybody anywhere. You know, there's bound to be opportunity in there for the operators as well, you know, from the point of view of there's no point in sort of launching a next generation platform, you know, without having OTT players involved, because, you know, they are going to have we are going to have to offer those services. But there was an interesting discussion at Capacity Europe a couple of weeks ago where there was a, you know, who was the more important and who needed who more in relation to OTTs, sort of, you know, without the OTTs, the networks aren't needed, versus the operator's position as well. You can't survive without the operator, you know. So it was a sort of a tongue-in-cheek comment. Well, switch off OTTs for a few days and see what happens, and then switch off a telecoms operator for a few days, and where's the greater impact going to be? You know, I think it's an interesting discussion to be had.
Good, good. Well, thank you, everyone on the panel. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
So they say retail people from Mars and wholesale from Venus. So question to you all from the wholesale sides, especially the three in this side of the table. So as an international wholesale providers, you're having excellent connectivity worldwide. A lot of nodes set up already in a lot of places of the world. Your home networks are homes for a lot of data has been growing big time. Yet, same as the retail guys have been not innovating in the retail, let's say in the communication sides and allowed for OTT to come, wholesale also have not really established themselves as the CDN provider for a long time. We've seen a very late moves by some of the international one recently. I mean, Deutsche Telekom is one that started, you know, looking at CDN as a portfolio of the products to leverage on these data booms happening and the assets that they have, which is the bandwidth and the connectivity they have. There are rumors, of course, for Verizon acquisition of Edgecast, not yet confirmed, which is again another acquisition, as you mentioned, of a line of the other acquisition to start acquiring also on the CDN space. So the question is, don't want you to confirm the news, but where do you think CDN fits in the priorities areas of wholesale providers? And in your sense, what do you think that in the long term or in 2 year, 3 years term, where do you think the total telecom operator share of the overall CDN business, how much percentage of the market share will it cover?
Anyone?
I believe Khalifa, his question is put to the other three. So,
Okay, we've narrowed it down to 3 people.
so he will ask me tomorrow maybe.
Okay.
I can add a comment. I mean, it's every operator had a different way of looking at CDN, and it was part of our portfolio for many years, and we're working in different ways in Germany as well as internationally in different variants. I mean, I'm offering currently CDN services around the world, also with an optimized way and a load balancing and everything, which makes it better. I mean, there are different ways which are more relevant per region. So also, I mean, we're looking at different ways. We're also offering and working on infrastructure as a service solutions in Germany. So also, I mean, being able to offer managed services in some of our markets. So it's a complex topic, and you have to address it per region, in fact. And we're looking at it all the time.
Just to add to that as well. I mean, we are looking into it at the moment as well. But I mean, the focus for us is very regional. Agreed. I think in this region, probably more needs to be done. I think from our perspective, but it's more around the managed service perspective, how to put a wrap around and looking at service end to end and see what value we can bring to a Pacific opco or an entity itself, and taking it as a bespoke. From a general product perspective, it's a complex area. Trying to take that on a global scale is a little bit more challenging, but we're now focused, what we have been doing is focusing more from an opco, each individual needs, and see what wrap we can around from a pricing, from offering to quality service, etc.
Yeah, I mean, just to, I can't comment on the acquisition, obviously, but you know, it's a complex discussion, and I'm probably not best not positioned to answer that one. But certainly, yeah, looking at it on a regional basis, looking at an OPCO basis, same as our colleagues at BT. You know, we need to it's an area that we need to address, and we need to understand the complexities of it a little bit more before I can answer that question for you, Yahlive.
Any other questions? One more right here.
If Tony, if this one is about female, I give the floor to the female to defend themselves.
No, it's a serious question. Okay, for anyone who can answer. How's the wholesale business, okay, has really benefit from the data tsunami? First question. Second question.
Data?
Tsunami.
Data tsunami.
Okay, the increase of volume of data transaction.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Second question, comparing the cost of data per megabit, for example, for last 3 years. Okay, now we're talking about the increase and the prices challenge and the volume, while the cost per megabit is going down. Okay, so how was the average if we compare 3 years ago to now? How is the cost dropping by percentage-wise, maybe?
For what you mean, IP broadband, Tony, or?
I think he's talking about data in general.
Data
right?
in general.
I think,
Of course, not retail.
yeah.
Wholesale data.
Of course.
I think partly that question was answered at the beginning, what we said. I mean, there is always, for every area, there is benchmarking. There is sort of supply and demand rule plays very well, I think. But definitely, if you are saying that the cost per mega has gone down, maybe, but you have to understand also that we have reached a stage where even people have to carefully look into whether to invest or not to invest in the infrastructure bringing you that capacity. Now here we're talking about international connectivity, international submarine cables, international terrestrial cables. So yes, today's technology can provide you capacity, whether it is on 40 giga or 100 giga or so. But at the end of the day, there is an overall cost and there is an overall excess in capacity that you may use or may not use. But there is cost which is on the investor, in fact, has to be considered. And you have to think of also that for international connectivity, at least for this part of the world, you are not talking that you put majority of your capacity on 1 or 2 cables. You are even diversifying that. So if you think of your investments are accumulated one on top of each other, it's correct that you may want to connect A to B, and all what you need in that capacity is 100 giga maybe. But then, with today's technology and whatever, your investment is not that for 100 giga, it is for much more. So, strictly speaking, there is this evaluation within most of the investors, and what decides on the prices is, I think, supply and demand. I may have excess of capacity and sit on it at not to sell, but then that's my choice. Or I may be having my organic thing, capacity, organic usage, for which one case of one supplier or operator could be different than the other.
Hey, maybe this is for Etisalat. Let's hear from, maybe they have different policies.
But just to add that, saying that, that means that even Etisalat is today matching others. So that means we have gone down from where we were to where we are now.
This is what I mean.
Yes, exactly. So there is, as I said, supply and demand and market rule. This is a well-known thing. So this is what the benchmarking. There is some benchmarking for backhauling and all that, which could be sometimes different. I mean, that's different in Asia than in Europe, than in Middle East, or in Japan, for example. These differences are there and will remain, and it is the market will decide, I think.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, panelists. We appreciate it. Great input. Thank you very much.